I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more times.
There's 5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
Andrew McCART, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast, and it's a long time no speak, long time no see. Mr. Jamie Moore. Jamie, how's life, mate?
Good, mate. And how are you, pal?
Good, mate. Like I said to you there before I pushed record, I'm just out the gym myself. I'm doing little bits and pieces in the gym, and it's fun. But we spoke a little bit before I pushed record there. Your amateur gym, and I was there for the opening, and now you're just explaining that you've got close to 70 kids or whatever coming in at night. So, man, that must keep you busy.
Yeah, mate. Listen, every night it's open. We have 3 separate classes, like a beginner's class, an intermediate one, and then like a carded boxers class. And we have between 70 and 80 kids through the door every time it's open. So it needed, this area needed it, and every time I go in there, I just sit and watching all the kids training, speaking to them, speaking to the parents at the show last time, just talking about how much it's changed their lives and stuff like that. So. And that was say 5 of the kids' parents out of the 14 bouts we had on the show when I was speaking to them came up to me saying something along them lines. So if it was just one of them, it'd be worth doing. And that was 5 of just the kids what was boxing. So God, if that's what's happening after nearly 2 years, then give us 15, 20 years, and it'll change their lives for the better.
Future world champions in there somewhere.
Yeah. Do you know what, Andy? Probably. But the main thing is, especially in areas like this, creating better people. Mm-hmm. It's giving them better mindsets, better work ethic, discipline, manners. It creates better people in general. And that's what I mean about give it 15, 20 years, because the kids what are in this gym now, who come out of the other side of it, better people, then have kids themselves. And create better people again, and it's a conveyor belt. And for too long since I was a kid, the conveyor belt's been going the wrong way. So so we'll just try to do our little bits to change it, mate. That's all. That's
the thing. I'll ask one more question on that then, Jamie. Like, obviously, taking the kids off the street, 70, 80 kids there, and you're saying in 15, 20 years' time, creating better people. What you've done in boxing in terms of amateur wins, and then obviously what titles you won as a professional. Now you're a professional coach, and you've had big world title fights with a lot of your fighters, Carl Frampton and all that, and Jack as well. So how much does this mean to you? How can you compare it to him? Does this mean more to you, bringing these kids off the streets and giving them a better life, and helping them give them a better life?
When you look at boxing in terms of my own career and the stuff we're doing to help the fighters achieve what they want to do, that's like achievement stuff, isn't it? That's like goals, what you set out to do. The amateur gyms is like life-changing stuff. You're not talking about, I don't even view it as a sport in that sense. It's like not obviously social services, but it's like a unofficial type of social services where you've got kids coming to you basically begging for help without actually saying those words. They're coming to you going, I'm lost. I haven't really got any direction in my life. I haven't got a dad telling me what's right and what's wrong. Even though they don't actually say it, they want structure in life. Everybody does, and the vast majority of them who come haven't got it. And the coaches in the place and all of us involved in the gym, we're all trying to give that to the kids, because I know I'm witness firsthand of how it impacted my life and made me a better person. It made me a good person. I'm not saying I wouldn't have been a good person, but I know the lessons what I've took on board along the years, and the sort of the ethics behind it. It makes you a better person fundamentally. And I just wanted to pass it on. I just wanted to be, what's the point in keeping hold of valuable life lessons like that to yourself without passing it on to other people and not hoping that they pass it on to, we're passing it on to hopefully 50, 60, 70 kids. And then if each one of them goes on to do that maybe in their life, then in 15, 20 years in this area, you've got hopefully a little bit of a better society. And I've been saying ever since I've done this with the amateur club, I've said, if every single person who was in a position did it, God, this country and the world would be a better place, wouldn't it? And it doesn't happen. You know, in an ideal world, everyone would do that, but it doesn't happen. But all we can do is keep our own doorstep clean. That's the old Salford saying.
That's that. Well, that's we hear that up here as well, believe it or not, Jamie. But listen, my hats off to you and well done to you, mate. And like I say, I'm proof of that as well. That boxing can help you down the path as well. And I've got young kids that come into the gym with me now. It's not an amateur gym, obviously, but they come in and do a little training session, a little pad work and stuff like that, and they enjoy it. So, man, hats off to you and well done to you, man. And long may it continue, Jamie. Well done, mate. But let's talk about the professional game then. Let's talk about the other gym that you come out of. Obviously, you've got it looks like a busy year coming up with Chantel and Jack. Who knows what's going to happen with the Josh Taylor fight, whether we're going to get that this year. But got Akib coming back as well. He had a good outing last time out. So yeah, just what are you expecting from your fighters for the tail end of this year?
Yeah, it's been a busy year for us so far. Obviously started off with the controversy in Scotland, and so that sort of set the tone really. The week after, we had Mark Leach win the British title, but even one of the cards in that fight was a mile out. So it's it sort of set the tone for the year, and Mark's lost his British title, first defence in a difficult first defence. It was a voluntary as well; didn't have to take it as well. He really didn't perform to the best of his ability that night, but you know, you can't take anything away from his opponent. It was a fair enough decision. I thought he probably just did the scorecards in that fight was around about right. Well, two of them was anyway. And then it looks like we're going to be busy towards the end of the year now. So I've got Lerone Harrison's fighting on Saturday, and then the next definite one is Chantel in Abu Dhabi.
Yep.
But it looks like maybe Rocky Fielding and Stephen Ward might be out in October as well. So then hopefully, fingers crossed, Jack and Josh can get a date by the end of the year in hopefully end of November, December, and we can try and put that one to bed as well.
The thing is, obviously, I've got the Josh Taylor, Jack Carter one intrigues me a lot, obviously, for obvious reasons and stuff. But for you, how confident are you we can get this fight over the line? I know that Josh wants it because he's vacated all his belts to give Jack, so he doesn't have to fulfill these mandatories. And obviously, I've spoke with Jack, and obviously, Jack wants it. There's no two ways about that. Jack really wants it. How confident is you, and what have you heard? And can we see it by this year?
Yeah, most of the time, money or one or the other fighter isn't as willing to take the fight as the other one. And I honestly can't say that this is the case in this one. It's just a matter of timing wise, getting the dates right. You know, there's talk of AJ and Fury and when that's going to be, if and when that takes place. So all those little aspects come into play. So, you know, for the fighters' sakes, I hope it happens before the end of the year, because I don't want it to drag on. And like you say, I know Josh has obviously shown willing that he wants this fight to take place because he's give up his world titles, and he wouldn't have done that if he didn't have to. So yeah, I think everyone's on the same page. It's just a matter of dates, making sure everyone's happy with the date, and you know, logistics, where it's going to be, you know, where it's going to take place. I don't think there'll be any sort of problems from our side. You know, we was quite happy to go to Scotland last time. You know, in an ideal world, do you want it on a neutral ground because of what happened last time? Maybe, but you know, I'm pretty sure that because of what happened last time, then judges will be sort of switched on under more scrutiny, and regardless of whether it's in Scotland or Manchester or London or wherever, I'm pretty confident that the outcome will be a fair one this time.
In terms of like the belts being vacated and it's not for the undisputed and all the rest of it, but it seems like this rematch for both fighters is more than just the belts now. It's more than money. It seems like there's pride and bragging rights and all that sort of stuff that outweighs the belts and that outweighs the money. Is that fair to say?
I'd say so. You know, there's obviously, because of what happened and fighters' comments afterwards in between each other, it's created a bit of needle. There wasn't that much needle really, I didn't think, in the build-up last time, up until sort of fight week, and there's a little bit of pushing and shoving at the weigh-in and stuff. But basically, the result last time has created that controversy. It's then, after that, it's created a bit of to and fro between the fighters and stuff like that. My job's just to get my guy ready for the fight like we did last time. Jack hadn't boxed for 16 months last time. For a fighter who plays off his ring craft and his ring generalship and his timing, that's not an ideal situation by any stretch of the imagination. So and I know Josh hadn't been as active as he probably had been over the few years before that, but he was still more active than Jack. So I think that plays into our favour. But still, after that, Jack had 2 or 3 days where he was sulking a little bit, and then by the Thursday he was back in my gym, back training, because that's what he does. It's his job, and he loves the sport. And I'm confident Jack will do a better job this time than last time. I understand Josh feels like he underperformed, or didn't perform as well as he could have done. I actually disagree. I think he actually did quite well compared to what I was sort of expecting, because Jack's so hard to pin down, to nail down, to break the code with him. And I think people will be surprised next time. I don't see it being massively different. I think Josh will try and change things up a little bit, but Jack does what Jack does, and he seems to work everybody out within a few seconds and breaks them down. So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Who doesn't want to be involved in big fights like that?
Definitely. And obviously I couldn't make that fight week because my daughter was born on that Wednesday of fight week, so I couldn't make it. So hopefully this rematch I can finally get into the nitty-gritty of a fight week between these two fighters. It'll definitely be an eye-opener for me. But you mentioned,
I'm sure you'll be stirring the pot fight week.
That's not me. I'm not good for that. I don't do that, Jamie. I'll try my best anyway. I'm all about the views, But you mentioned a little bit there about Fury Joshua, about when that lands in that fight day. Now, from all the comments and the Instagram posts and tweets and that, we're hearing from the 258 management of Joshua, and obviously Frank Warren. We're hearing that fight seems like it's going to happen. Joshua's accepted all the terms from Fury, the 60-40 split in the first fight, 50-50 split in the rematch, the 3rd of December, the Principality Stadium, all this sort of stuff. Only thing is obviously the TV network and where it's going to be, BT Sports DAZN. So it looks like it's going to happen, Jamie. And as a guy that's been in the sport long, you've been there, done it, wore the T-shirt, maybe got a few T-shirts. Just your thoughts on this fight itself and how big it is for British boxing and world boxing.
Yeah, mate, listen, it's still a huge fight, and everybody understands how good Usyk is and how difficult it is to break down. So I think AJ come out of the rematch with a bit more credibility than he did after the first fight. I also think he's got more improvement in him as well. He made an improvement on the last performance, but I like the fact that he was frustrated. I know there's a bit of controversy after the second fight and his outburst, which couldn't be seen as a little bit disrespectful towards Usyk because he was the winner. But I like that passion in a fighter who's devastated that he's lost, because how easy would it have been for him to go, well, you know what, I've lost to Usyk and nobody really gave me a chance this time. I did my best. I did better than last time, but fair play to him. He's beat me fair and square. People would have then been complaining, going, see, he's rolled over too easy. He's accepted defeat too easy. Mm-hmm. So you can't win. And styles make fights. Everyone knows that in boxing. And AJ versus Fury is no given conclusion, without a shadow of a doubt. Do I think Fury will win? I'd have to say he's the favourite, but I don't think it's out of Joshua's grasp to win that fight, and especially taking on board the lessons what he's got over the last 2 fights, albeit the dimensions are different. The matrix what you've got to break down is pretty similar in terms of breaking Fury down and breaking Usyk down. So is it a big ask? Of course it is, but by the sound of it, that's what he wants. He wants these big challenges. And like I said earlier on, when two fighters come out and say they want to make it happen and they both agree terms, then the only bridge you've got to cross then is the TV companies and stuff like that. And, you know, it's difficult, but it's been done before. You know, look at Tyson Lewis. They shared pay-per-view. I think it was Showtime and HBO. So they've laid out a blueprint really where you can go, okay, if a fight of this magnitude needs to take place and there is those obstacles to overcome, has it been done before? Yeah. There's how you do it. Did it work for them? Yeah, it did. All right, this might not, the little details might not work. So iron them out and then you've got yourself a deal. So mate, I really hope it happens before the end of the year. That's a huge fight.
Yeah, I agree. But Jamie, as a coach, and I've read a few coaches, managers, promoters, and all that saying that Joshua shouldn't take this fight too quickly. He should really gel with his coaches and Robert Garcia and Angel Fernandez, maybe gel with them a little bit more, get to know them a little bit better, then step into a big fight. So as a coach yourself, if you had Joshua, how would you maneuver that situation? Obviously, Joshua, we know he doesn't back down from anyone. He's took rematch after rematch when he's lost against Ruiz and Usyk. He's fought everyone that's been given to him. So how would you maneuver this situation with Joshua?
Well, I think, you know, when AJ, he had his most success in the 9th round against Usyk, and that was when he got to the point where he went, you know what, fuck it, I've just got to go for this now, and that's what he's got to do. That's the mindset he's got to have. You know, you can't overthink things sometimes. Fighters work in hundredths of a second, and you know, little feints, movements, body language, anticipation. Before, if you overthink a move or you know, try to set a trap for someone, before you know it, someone like Usyk or Fury are gone because they know what you try to do. You know, they've been around the bush so many times. So I think AJ loves the sport that much. He over analyzes himself to the point of where it's detriment to his performances now. I think the Ruiz fight in some ways was a good thing because it made him analyze himself and it made him sort of go back to the drawing board a little bit, make improvements. Because before that, you know, the old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. He was blasting everyone away. It was working. He didn't really have to address anything. Afterwards, he did, but I think maybe he went too far away from what made him a good fighter in the first place. And one of the sayings I always use for my fighters is, if you're in with such a good technical fighter like a Fury or a Usyk, don't try and match them for skill or technicality. You know, simplify it. That's what I always say. So you've got to try and drag them down to your sort of level and drag them into a fight, because you got to take them out of the comfort zone. And yeah, of course, that's easier said than done. But you map out a little game plan where you go, try and walk him into some little traps, put the pressure on, fight at a gear higher than what they're used to fighting at, make them feel uncomfortable, use your physical attributes.
Turn it into a 6-round fight, maybe? Turn it into a 6-round fight rather than a 12-round fight?
I said it, and I was half joking. I said it in an interview before the rematch, but I said I'd go Rocky freestyle. I'd be saying, like, listen, you've got 6 or 8 rounds in you, and in all honesty, you know, looking at it from a fighter's point of view, if I'm a fighter, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, if I go past the 8th round, I ain't going to win this fight on points. But I've either done enough damage to get to the point where I've had a good impact on him and I've got a chance of stopping him between 6 and 8 rounds. But if he's got through that storm and he's probably going to weather it and get to the point where he's going to beat me on points, you're going to have to take risks in terms of getting to that point, and that means you're at more risk of getting stopped yourself. But I'd rather take risks trying to win a fight rather than not take the risks and know that I'm probably going to lose because of it.
Yeah. So you think we can see a 19 and a half stone Joshua against Tyson Fury? Because Tyson's going to come in big.
I don't think that heavy, because I think that's detriment to his athletic ability. But I definitely think 18 stone, being big, rough him up, get him on the inside, throw him about, get a few warnings off the ref. That's the way to try and throw him off his game plan. You just don't want him to feel comfortable. You don't want any fighter who fights in that style to feel comfortable, because if you do, you're always going to be one step behind him.
Well, I think that's Nigel Benn behind you, is it? Just a segue somewhere else.
Is, yeah.
Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank there?
Both of them together, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, this is a perfect segue into my next question then. I'm sure you're old enough to remember, maybe not the first fight between their fathers, but I'm sure you might be old enough to remember the second fight.
Mate, I watched the first fight with my dad in the armchair, and I went to the second fight. I was 14 years old.
There you go.
I went to the rematch at Old Trafford, me and my mate Clint. So good memories. That's what made me fall in love with boxing.
Well, listen, what perfect way. Right, their sons are fighting now. Okay, you've seen Conor Benn, you've seen Chris Eubank come up for the professional rank. You've seen what they've done so far. For me, I can't remember the first fight as a kid, but I can remember watching the second fight with my dad on ITV back in '93. I think it was. I think I was 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
So I can remember watching that fight and being like, again, that's one of them fights. But Prince Nazim got me into boxing, to believe it or not. But that was the fights when I'm watching. I'm like, wow, man, this is definitely a sport I love, and I love it because just the way they two interact with each other. For me, seeing their sons going at it and just having that Eubank Ben Eubank name, I'm like, I'm buzzing. I'm excited for it. Do you do the same?
Yeah, that nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's any of those nostalgic feelings I love. I love that. And Nigel Benn was my hero. I've said it so many times in different interviews. I wasn't a Eubank fan. I've met him actually a couple of times afterwards, and he's very eccentric, and he's a nice bloke in person. But it's intriguing because it came out of nowhere. No one expected it to happen. Even when the rumours started going around, everyone was like, "Nah, that'll never happen. There's too much, size discrepancy in between. There's too much weight in between." But they've come to a deal, and they've done it. There's been this rumour the last 24 hours that Chris Eubank has pulled his son out of the fight, which I'm not sure whether that's true or not. I understand if he is having those type of worries because of what has happened in the past, and obviously he experienced it himself in the ring as well with Michael Watson. So there is those worries. There's always those worries, and the only thing is, I know Chris Eubank Jr. looks like he's a very, very disciplined, dedicated athlete, and I don't believe he would have took this fight if he did feel he was going to be detriment to his performance, even though he said, I'll only be 60% and, that's all I need to beat Conor Benn. I don't think he truly believes that. I think it's a lot of it's mind games. And I believe that he feels like he'll be healthy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have took the fight in the first place. There was other, not maybe financially, his big fights for him available out there, but he's certainly on the verge of being involved in some big fights. So he didn't have to take this fight for financial reasons. But I don't think Conor Benn's out of the equation. Obviously he's never boxed anywhere near this weight, but some of the performances he's had lately, and I know it's not been sort of full, at the top end of world level, but he's beat some ex-world champions and some top level fighters, albeit a little bit past the best, and he's done it in very, very explosive fashion. So I think his boxing IQ has really improved over the last couple of years as well. So intrigue. It's got intrigue all over it, and regardless of what happens in the fight, there'll be millions of people sat on the couch staring at it. Most of them our age, who've got that little bit of feeling of Ben Eubank rivalry from years ago, going, I wonder what's going to happen here.
Exactly. That's the thing, wondering what's going to happen here, because there is a lot of variables in this fight in terms of inexperience for Conor, coming up in weight. He's obviously clearly not fought the caliber that Chris has fought, but then there is obviously the Chris Eubank coming down past 160. I don't think he's done that in his professional career. That 3 pound, as a fighter, is a lot of weight to lose if you've never done it before, especially as an older fighter at 32. You don't ever come down in weight as you get older, you go up in weight. But then he does have the experience, he does have the size. So being a Nigel Benn fan, you might be biased here, but can you pick a winner?
I I can't pick a winner because, like you say, there's so many variables, and I mean, so when you look at actually Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank as fighters back in the day, Nigel Benn was a lot smaller than Chris Eubank naturally. Eubank used to boil himself down massively to get down to middleweight and super middleweight. He ended up boxing at cruiserweight against Carl Thompson. So he was always then naturally a bigger fighter. So there's a lot of similarities in that sense as well in this fight. And you know, one question is, I think, you know, Chris Eubank has proven to have a good chin. George Groves, I know he got wobbled a little bit off Groves, but Groves can really hit. And you know, he did well to hold on to them shots in that fight. But can he do it going down that far in weight? Because it's well known fact that you don't hold a shot the same when you're weak at the weight. So, you know, there's all those questions to ask, and you know, hopefully we'll find the answers depending on whether the rumours are true or not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I say, there'll be a lot of kids, grown men our age that were kids watching their dads fight back in the day. That's the thing. When I said, when I heard that Ben Eubank name, that, like you said, nostalgic feeling of like going back as a kid and watching it. I'll probably have my son on my lap watching this fight. So hopefully it can live up to their father's fights. And I think it will, because they're both exciting fighters. They're going to go out on their shield no matter what. So it's going to be intriguing. But Jamie, like I said, man, I've had you for half an hour and it's getting late on this fine Tuesday evening. I do appreciate your time as always. And hopefully the next interview I speak to you, I've got a mic in my hand and a camera and it's face to face, because these Zoom calls, I struggle with them. But
yeah, of course, mate. Well, listen, I don't know if you're going to Abu Dhabi. We could do it over there. Eh? You might get a little flight over there, eh?
Yo, Coogan, you heard it here. If you need another guy over there, I'm coming. I think Coogan's covered it, but I might try and squeeze myself over. So fingers crossed. Jamie, enjoy Abu Dhabi if I don't see you, and good luck to Chantel and all the rest of the fighters. And I'll speak to you soon, mate.
Cheers, Andy. Thanks, pal.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks, mate.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Yeah, I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more times.
5 blokes outside my front door. You coming in?
One hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.